out, and when you put it back in, it just has that nice, lockup. It's great. This is a very good sheath, very well designed. And the tech lock, for those of you that don't know, is just it's kind of like a more advanced pocket clip, I guess. You can attach it this way or the other way for different, if you want to carry it like this on your belt, or like this on your belt, or like this on your belt, or whatever, just for different attachments. And it's kind of like a pocket clip, except it locks, obviously. There's a thing like goes in here that can lock out the tech lock itself, so I can't open it. But it's just a method for attachment. And obviously it comes with the pocket clip with these screws that you can use to put the pocket clip into this sheath itself. And I guess you can use paracord or something to just wrap this thing around a backpack strap or your leg or your arm or something. So. Okay, let's talk about why I got this. I got this knife from knifecenter.com, and I got it because I primarily wanted a survival knife that had a simple design, good attachment options, and well priced. I got this knife for around $100 from knifecenter.com, maybe a little bit lower, 90 maybe. And I just wanted to, and the main reason I got this over the RC3 version is that the RC3 version is only offered in 1095, which is a very common steel. It's very utilitarian steel, let's just say. You can use it for almost any tasks that you may come up against. But being a kind of a knife nut, I like something a little bit more high tech, and that's why I went with the D2. And Rat, unfortunately, does not offer D2. They only offer 1095 in their whole knife range, for their RC4, RC6, or whatever. Now, if they had made a version in D2, I would have definitely bought that version. Rat as a company just seems to be more dedicated than Ontario is. So, but the D2 is what really swayed me. And I heard a lot of good things about D2. It's tough, resilient, and it's a tool steel. So I just want to try it out, see if it was lived up to all the hype, and it really has. I've used this knife while I'm backpacking and stuff, and I've sharpened it a couple of times. I'll talk about that later. And it's been a good knife to me for cutting limbs and building fires and stuff. It's really been great to me. So the steel itself, it stays pretty sharp after extended use, and good. It really has proven itself in my eyes. The 1095 is supposedly easy to sharpen, but I'll talk about that later. But I do regret not getting the RC3, because first of all, I like how the RC3 has that glass breaker pommel that this lacks. And this, even though I have small hands, this knife is the handle is a little bit short even for me. And the RC3 has that little bit of extension on the handle. So I do regret not buying the RC3, but and I may get one later. Who knows? In a different color, maybe like a coyote brown, like a tan kind of color. Oh, yeah. So the RC3 has better craftsmanship, and I like the logo better, personally. So. Okay. Oh, the grind on this knife is a full flat grind. You see, you can just tell by feeling down the spine of the knife, or feeling down the flat of this knife. Full flat grind, which is good for survival knives, because they don't have to be super good cutters, but they do have to stand up after repeated sharpenings. What happens when you have a hollow ground knife is that as you sharpen, the geometry of your blade changes. Basically, it's hard to explain, but basically your knife becomes a more and more dull knife, even though you're trying to keep the same angle, and that does not happen with a full flat grind. So and for a survival blade, that's very important, because this will be sharpened many times, because it will be used in the wilderness and stuff like that. And it cuts okay. But a problem that I've seen with this knife is that this coating that they have on it will drag on most things that you use that you're cutting with it. So you have to spray it down with some WD-40 or some kind of oil, rem oil or whatever, before you cut, or spray the wood, so that it will glide more easily. But this will drag, and it makes any cutting tasks more like harder. It takes more force, more effort, and so that's one of the downsides of having this kind of epoxy baked on coating. The upside is that it keeps your whole blade from rusting, but the downside is that it's a very abrasive material, and it will drag on stuff that you're trying to cut. Okay, let's talk about some things I like about this knife. I like the black blade. It's very tactical looking. I like the micarta handles, and I like the the attachment options, and I like the D2 steel. And let's talk about something I don't like. I don't like that it doesn't have the glass breaker. I don't like that its build quality, and it's not a lot of really noticeable things, but if you can just look in the liner, and if you look at the quality of the micarta, it's a little bit lacking. It's frayed, and it doesn't and the handle doesn't match up perfectly with the knife blank itself. It's a little bit off here and there, and you can feel, and if you run it down the spine area, you can feel that the micarta here is a little bit bigger than the knife, and here is a little bit smaller. Just little things like that, and that's my dislikes. And some of the concerns I have about this knife at first, and these are some concerns that you might have before buying this knife, is that I've heard a lot of stories about D2 not sharpening very well. People can't get a good edge on it. But and the D2 rusting. And then let me in my user experience talk about those things. This knife sharpens very well. I don't know what people are talking about when they say they can't sharpen D2. I use a DMT, Diamond Stone Sharpening Kit, a liner kit, and I backed the edge up. I backed the edge up to a 10 or 15. I forget. Maybe like a 15 degrees on each side, so a 30 degrees inclusive. And this thing is very sharp. I actually just cut my hand on it the other day. I was using my top cloth to get some of that stuff on the blade, and I cut myself pretty bad. So this thing is really sharp. Cuts paper, just fine. Actually, I have some paper here, so I'll show you a little cutting test. So this is the Rat 3 cutting paper. Oh, whoa, uh-oh, whoops, a tripod fell. Well, you get what you pay for with these Walmart things, So, let's show you some more cutting, actually. There you have it. It just runs straight through that paper, and it cuts well in wood and food, etc., etc. And so it is pretty easy to sharpen. And as you can see from the knife, from the repeated sharpenings, it's actually changed the shape of the blade a little bit. It used to be a little bit fuller in this area, and from the sharpening, this knife has actually become more of almost like a spear point than a drop point, which makes it a better stabber, I guess. I put a really wicked point on here also. Okay, well, there you have it. There's my review of the Ontario Rat 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and go out and buy this knife.